Okay? It's titled Shar HaYichud VaHaEmunah. That means the gate of Yichud. Yichud, which means a unification. Many of the Kabbalists interpreted that as being a meditation, a Yichud. Yichud also comes from the root of echad, chad, meaning one, a unification. A Yichud also is used the same terms as a unifying, or let's say a union. Let's say like, actually in the language of intimacy. Okay? So it's called Gate of Yichud, which I would like to say, for our purposes of this learning, Gate of Connection. And Emunah, Emunah is the classic word meaning faith, but it means a lot more than that. Okay? Emunah is total connection to God in a total trusting way and understanding that everything comes from God. Emunah is the very foundation of us, as the first commandment says so. So now we start off with this little first paragraph in the Gate of Connection and Emunah and faith, with a very cryptic statement from the Zohar. The Zohar, as we know, is the esoteric commentary of the 5 books of Moses, written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in like 200 BCE, around that area, maybe something like, and as you know, that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, said a comment about the Roman government, who was occupying Israel at that time. This temple was already destroyed. And he said as a remark about the Roman government that they do everything for themselves, and therefore they heard about that, the government, and since he was a very prominent figure, so therefore they sought to go ahead and have him captured and put to death. But of course he ran away with his son and hid in a cave, just to cut this long story short, for 13 years. There was a carob tree outside his cave. There was a flowing brook outside for water. He had food. And Elijah the prophet would come to him twice a day and teach him all the esoteric understanding of the 5 books of Moses. Because the 5 books of Moses, as we know, if you haven't explored it before, it's the map. It's known as the blueprint of creation, where God looked into the Torah and created the world. But it's not that kind of map. Okay, it's not like kind of blueprint where you'll roll it up after you made the world and put it away. It's very much involved, and we're going to see that and explore that today. So this cryptic statement that is brought in the Zohar says like this, the very first paragraph, right up here. Okay? So it says, let us understand at least in a small measure the statement in the Zohar that says, Shema Yisrael, which means, hear Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Okay, so in other words, when the Jewish people, and they have the obligation to say this twice a day, hear, O Israel, we take our right hand, we cover over our eyes, and we say, hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. The reason why we do this, why do we cover our eyes? Have you ever noticed this before? Why?
The glory would destroy us?
That's pretty nice. That's pretty cool. What might have you have heard? Anything?
I've heard several different things, but one is absolute complete concentration in pronouncing and not deviating from the intent of doing Shema.
Okay. So most people understand that, helps concentrate, but there's a lot of other things you have to help concentrate, so you should be doing that at other times as well. So I was always told that we have to show ourselves that what we see around us is not really what's real. Okay? That every single thing we see, and a lot of the later holy tzaddikim they call it in Hebrew, achizat einayim, which means it grabs the eyes. Eye grab. Prestidigitation. And as my father-in-law would put it, right, it's an illusion of sorts. Not a total illusion. It's an illusion that has meaning. But it's basically very much, yes, a distraction. Yes, the light is great. Okay? But we cannot let the world, right, take away from our connection. and then what's the real connection? The world is what we see is not really real. Okay? So in any case, we do this and we say the Shema, and that is called, according to the Zohar, what's called a Yichuda Ila'ah, which is called higher level unity. We don't know what that means. This is very cryptic. Okay? And then we say, right after we say, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, we say, Blessed be his glorious name, kingdom forever and ever. We say this other phrase, which also has 6 words in it. We say, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Vo'ed. This is called Yichuda Tata, a lower level unity. Higher is the first phrase of the Shema, and then the second phrase, this is called a lower level, and like, what is that? What does it mean, higher level unity? If it's all one, and we're always involved in getting involved and connecting to the oneness of this universe, right? So what would it mean by a upper level versus a lower level? You know, it's an experience of oneness. We're all after the experience of oneness. We're all after the aha, okay? We all want to taste, if you haven't had an epiphany before in your life, we're always, our inside, there's something ringing a bell inside all of us to go after that experience, and we're chasing it our whole lives, if we ever had it. Okay, usually Hashem throws everybody a bone. Usually he wakes people up in different ways, right? So, and then we spend our whole lives. So that the great story of Rabbi Nachman of Breslev was, once this guy was traveling, he tasted some Hungarian wine. And his whole life, he was going after to try to find it, to get some of that Hungarian wine, another taste of it, a bottle somewhere, because he had it once, and he couldn't find it anywhere. And he was putting ads in WhatsApp and everywhere he could possibly, emails. Anybody can get me hold of some Hungarian wine. And of course, people would respond. He'd write letters, send out. Come on, that was when I had that wine, it was like no other. And people would say, we got some. And we travel here and travel there, and here it is. And he'd drink it, and he'd go, he says, I don't quite grasp the Hungarian wine, but I know this is definitely not it. Okay? What is that about?
Holy Grail.
Well, the idea really is we're searching our whole lives for our soul. And we've tasted maybe, had a smidge of a taste, and our whole lives are just going after that. And so the world throws at us, here, this is going to give you back your soul. This is going to introduce you to your soul. Here, this, right? This music, or this whatever it is, this piece of media, this piece of news, this piece of information, and the soul goes, okay, maybe my soul is there, maybe my soul is there, maybe my soul is there, maybe this is the Hungarian wine. And then we taste it, and then it doesn't do it after a while, unless people are completely lost, okay? In any case, have you ever seen the movie The Matrix? Okay, so this is about the Matrix. This is the red pill. This is the red pill. This is about the red pill. The Torah is the red pill. The mitzvahs are the red pill. Okay? But there are a lot of people who are very much addicted to blue pills, and you don't want to wake them up so much. Okay? You can't avoid it. Okay? Everybody's in the process. So now he's going to start to explain what is this meditation, this higher level unity, lower level unity. Okay, but of course, many times the way that the Hasidic masters will write, they always write, they always start off with another question, and then they're going to get into the answer of that question, which could be a discourse, and then we won't arrive at the answer till the very end. Okay, so he's going to start with chapter 1 here. Know this day, and take into your heart that Havaya is Elohim, which means God is the Lord. In the heavens above and upon the earth below, there is no other. Actually, we say this in the Shema. This is a verse in, I'm not sure where it is, okay? I have that other book here. It has the sources.
Let's see.
May I ask?
Yeah.
Havaya, is that another representation of the holy name?
That is the holy name, and
Okay.
that's why they refer to it as Havaya, because if you take the letters of Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, I'm not allowed to say it as they are spelled. If I say it like that, you're not allowed to say it as it is written in Hebrew. So one of the ways that all the masters will say it, they'll call it Havaya. They'll switch the Hey with a Vav, then a Yud, and then a Hey. So then you can say it like that, and everybody knows what you're talking about. This is jargon, professional Torah jargon, right? Kabbalistic jargon, just like lawyers have jargon, doctors have jargon, right? They say one concept, and everybody knows that mechanics have jargon. Well, your Fetzer valve and your Johnson rod is broken, right? Yeah, and I have no clue what a Johnson rod or a Fetzer valve. Okay, so right, so. This is their jargon. The name of Havaya, which is merely the ineffable, the name that we're not allowed to pronounce, of Yud Kei Vav Kei. So I'm just looking at note.
It's on Isaiah 45:5.
Yes, there you go. Because we say it really in the Psalms, okay? Yeah. So we say it in the Psalms all the time. Actually, it's in the daily prayer service. We say that V'yadata hayom avahashe v'osai. We say it in the Aleinu prayer. There's a certain prayer we say at the end of every single prayer service, every single day. It says Aleinu l'shabeach. It says upon us to praise God, right? And within that prayer, that is kind of like it's the culmination of everything, is this phrase: know this day and take unto your heart that Havaya Yud Kei Vav Kei is Elokim. In the heavens above and upon the earth below, there is no other. Okay? So when you have this kind of phrase here, know this day and take unto your heart. Know is knowledge, is dot. Right? That's knowing something. That's head stuff. Know this day and take unto your heart. You have to make it sit. V'hashev sa. You have to make it sit on your heart. That Hashem hu Elokim, that the Almighty, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is God. And what does that mean? In the heavens above and on the earth below, there is no other. Okay? I'm not going to get into the different names of God and what it means. What is it, just to say it real quickly. When you're saying Yud Kei Vav Kei is Elokim, God is the Lord, how they translate it. Okay? So we say that Elokim, the word Elokim, means literally God, right? But when we understand Elokim, it has a different connotation, because if you look at it really simply, it means it's a plural. In Hebrew, it's a plural name, Elokim. So, but we always refer to God as Elokim, because the name, when we think about it, when we think about Hashem's name, when we think about Elokim, when we say Elokeinu, we're thinking of Bal HaYecholet, Bal Kochot Kulam. What does that mean? He is the master of all abilities and the master of all forces. Meaning there's nothing that he cannot do, and he is behind every single force that we experience. Because don't forget, in those days, they saw the sun, they thought there's a force of the sun. They saw the rain, there's the force of the rain. They saw things, and they saw that they were different forces. There's this force, the force of the wind, right? So they thought there's different forces. So really, when we say Elokim and we refer to God, we refer to He's in charge of all those forces, the one unifying force that is involved in all those forces. That's why it's kind of pluralized, Elokim. But we know that it is one because there's only one universal force that guides everything with precision. Okay? And when we say Yud Kei Vav Kei, we're really saying the kavana, the special intention of Yud Kei Vav Kei is Hayah Hoveh V'yiyeh, was, is, and will be, which really implies something of the eternalness of it. Okay? But it's more than that, as we're going to get to. But just to kind of like use it as a meditation, when you want to say Hashem, Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei is Elokim, you're saying really that the eternal is involved, is in charge of everything, is totally involved in overseeing every single thing in creation. Okay? So in any case, you got to make this sit upon your heart, right? Every day. Know this today. Know this day and take it upon your heart that Havaya is Elokim in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is no other. Ein od. Now this requires explanation. For would it occur to you that there is a God dwelling in the waters beneath the earth? That it is so necessary to negate it so strongly to say, you got to make this sit on your heart. Okay? Because obviously the verse is saying, you got to get this to sit solid inside of you on your heart. Okay? That what? There's nothing else other than God. Not even under the waters. Why was I was thinking there's something underneath the waters that I got to know, that I got to make this sit on my heart so deeply? What's with this? Okay? So we're going to get into that. That's his question. Question number 1. Why do I need it so strongly? Okay? So now we're going to go on to a completely different universe, but it's going to explain it. Okay? It is written, there's a verse in Tehillim, in Psalms, King David. It says, Le'olam Hashem devarcha nitzav b'shamayim. Forever, O God, your word stands firm in the heavens. Now what does that mean? Okay, King David says this. Okay? Le'olam, forever, O God, your word stands firm in the heavens. What is the meaning of that? What is the unique concept? So thank God we have the Baal Shem Tov, who was the founder of the Hasidic movement, lived 250 years ago. All of the Hasidic Rabbis came from him. The entire Hasidic movement, of course, including the Lubavitch movement, and there's many other sects of Hasidim, all from his students and students of students. So the Holy Master says, the Baal Shem Tov of blessed memory has explained that, what? Your word, which you uttered, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, along with all of the other words, all the other phrases, all the other statements that God said in the very first chapter of Genesis. These very words and letters stand firmly forever within the firmament of heaven and are forever clothed within all the heavens to give them life. As it is written, the word of our God shall stand firm forever. And his words live and stand firm forever. Okay? So the idea really is, you have to go and you have to know your Genesis. Okay? If you don't have this book. Okay? But if you look in the first chapter of Genesis, you'll see, and we have it handed down, there are 10 times where it says, and Hashem said, let there be light. And Hashem said, let there be a firmament. And Hashem said. There's 10 of those phrases. Actually, really 9, but Bereshit is one is the 10th. Okay? The Gemara, actually, the Talmud, the Talmud got away with they can ask anything, right? Anything. They're not like us. Some people you can't ask those kind of questions. Oh, sorry. Okay? No, you can ask anything. The Talmud is, they said there's 10 times it says and Hashem said, and Hashem said. We counted, there's only 9. Right? And the answer came very quickly. Bereshit, the very first word. It wasn't said in an God said way, but it was the first, considered to be the most sublime of all of the 10 statements. So sublime, actually, in this week's Parsha. The Baal Shem Tov, the Holy Master, went into this explanation of, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses was getting all of the directives to build all of the temple vessels. But the menorah, just couldn't get until Hashem had to show him a vision of fire. He had to go virtual screen on him, right? 10-foot plasma, okay, whatever, 20, 30, 50-foot plasma, okay, flat, okay, 3-dimensional, here's how it looks. He couldn't get it. With all of the descriptions, and he gave descriptions for every single one of the temple vessels, this one could not stick. There's even a midrash which says, Moses had to throw the one piece of gold into the fire, and the whole thing came out on its own. One of those, okay? You can do that in your your computer-generated imagery mind, okay? So he asks why. Why did it have to be like that? Why? If Hashem, and Moshe had difficulty, and it was back and forth here. And Hashem knew that he was going to have difficulty. Why did he have to do it in this way, where he finally had to just show him a virtual picture of what it was? So the idea really is because he wanted to intimate, there are 10 special temple vessels. Each one of those 10 correspond to 10 commandments, 10 statements of creation, 10 sefirot, right? 10 is a classic number, going from the highest of emanations of God to the lowest. So he wanted to teach Moshe the menorah is the highest. It corresponds Bereshit of the 10 statements of creation. Okay? That's why he couldn't figure out in any other way except that way. In any case, let's get back. God had 10 utterances in the work of creation. And so those utterances that God made, the letters of those utterances and the words constantly are giving every single thing its animation every single moment. Okay? The physicists go into, right, quantum mechanics, atomic particles, subatomic particles, and the subatomic particles, I think they got a theory on the superstring theory. Okay? Right? So in our science, okay, in the Torah way, we say that when God uttered those things, it's not like he uttered it, said the statement, and then went away. Those statements are still giving every single thing its constant animation. Now, the Torah, we say, was the blueprint of creation, right? God looked into the Torah and created the world, but it's a different thing than a blueprint, I said. How does it work? It works like this. Very much like the way we understand a computer screen. Not a computer screen, sorry. A screen, a movie screen. You go to the movies. In those days, it was a movie screen. There was a projector. Maybe there is now. I don't know now. Things with digital and everything. And there's a film. And you take the film. The projector projects the light. There's the film. And then there's what is projected on the screen. Right? So the way that it is looked at, like this, Rabbi Kiva Tatz explained it, and it's really stuck in me, was that the world is a screen. The light of the projector is the light of God, and the film is the Torah. Meaning the film, every single thing that is on that screen has its place, its root in the Torah. That's why they ask all the times in the Talmud. They want to know Haman, from the book of Purim, from the book of Esther, scroll of Esther. Haman from the Torah where? Where is Haman in the Torah? What are they asking that? It's in the book of Esther. No. We want to know where he's in the 5 books of Moses. Yeah, that's cool. Because every single thing has to be in those 5 books of Moses. Every single thing. Everything. Every single thing that you're experiencing has a hookup in one of the 10 statements of creation. That God is still saying it. So right this second, so to speak, animating every single thing right here and now through the letters of those 10 statements of creation. Okay? You following? Did I lose you?
No.
Okay. So we look at the screen as the world, the light of God, and the film is the projection. Okay, so every single thing Haman from the Torah, by the way, they found out where is Haman in the Torah, they asked. And it actually comes from in the Garden of Eden, where Adam was hiding. And God opened up a dialogue with Adam after the sin. And he says, Hamin HaTorah, Hamin HaEtz Hazeh, from this tree. It literally meant from, but it was the same words, Haman, Hamin HaEtz. So they go, that's where he is. Haman is there. That's where the program of Haman originated, of like the idea of hiding something, right? When you know outright it's a lie. Okay, Hamin ha'etz hazeh, from this tree. Did you eat from? Okay. So in any case, every single thing has its root in the Torah, but the Torah was made up of letters. That was before. So we call the letters the primordial building blocks of creation. or what I'd like to call them, the primordial energy fields that give every single thing its animation. It didn't shock me when I was looking in one of those books on physics, right? Said that they were into the superstring theory, that the strings are really so tight, but a string has a vibration to it. Okay? Every letter, now they're not gonna, according to one Kabbalist I spoke to, I don't think science will ever get into where they can divide everything to its finest finding, and they're going to get an olive bait. They're going to say, "Oh, olive bait." I don't. Then you never know. But then again, But the way that I always look at the letters are energies. Okay, it's not a language like any other language. This is the king's language. This is the creational language. Aleph, B, G, Duh, they all have certain vibrations, and those vibrations, as what he's saying here, and we'll get into the flavor of it, is constantly giving every single thing its existence. Okay? So let's look at it a little bit more. Let's go on. Okay?
The first let is going to be light as well. Double. Light is doubled then.
Which light is doubled?
For the very first let there be.
Letter? No.
So
You mean the very first statement of creation?
Well, I counted 9 let.
No, it's "and God said." Look for "and God said."
Okay.
You're good. You're really going through it. Don't you let anything slip by me. Okay?
Thanks.
God said. It should be "and God said."
Okay.
Because there's a lot of times where God says "let." There's 32 places in the first chapter of Genesis, right, where it mentions God's name, Elohim.
Oh, okay.
There's 32. 32 is a very significant number. Okay?
Okay.
The first letter of the Torah is a beit. The last letter is a lamed. Lamed is 30. 32. 32 paths of wisdom. That's the first chapter of the book of formation, this one. 32 is a very significant number. Okay? But there's only 10 where it says, "and God said." Okay? In the beginning was one of them, and God said, "Let there be light." God said, "Let there be a firmament. Let the waters be gathered. Let there be vegetation. Let the water swarm." There's only those. There's a lot of other statements where God saw that it was good. God created great whales, right? Mm-hmm. God called the daylight. God divided. There's action statements. Mm-hmm. God did this, saw that, right? But there's only 10 said.
Okay.
Is that Vayidaber?
Vayidaber or Vayomer. Okay.
So there's 10 saids,
more Vayomer,
but
right?
one is silent? Well, I mean...
Bereshit is the wink. I call it the wink. It's a statement it's a sublime statement. It's a statement. It just didn't come in the form of "and God said." Why didn't it come in that form of "God said"? We're still investigating. This is a lifetime's exploration and meditation.
That statement is Bereshit?
Yes, the very first Bereshit, the very first word. There's a book out called Tikkun Zohar. It's not out, sorry. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, wrote it, right? It's 70 chapters just on that one word. 70 chapters, and it's 3 volumes. Right?
And that
with
word,
a commentary. It could be in one volume, but it's like completely esoteric. You got to be In any case,
thank you.
So let's go on here. So I'm on the second to bottom line here on this paragraph here, the first paragraph that we were on, where it says chapter 1. If the letters were to depart even for an instant, God forbid, and return to their source, all the heavens would become naught and absolute nothingness, and it would be as though they had never existed at all, exactly as before the utterance. Okay? So if he were to just retract that statement for a moment, then it's as if it was never there. Right? Let there be a firmament, and so it is with all created beings, and all the upper and lower worlds, and even this physical earth, which is the kingdom of the silent, meaning the inanimate, matter. If the letters of the 10 utterances by which the earth was created during the 6 days of creation were to depart from it, but for an instant, God forbid, it would revert to naught and absolute nothingness, exactly as before the 6 days of creation. Okay, so you have, what we're going to now get into is, something from nothing. Okay, so once upon a time, God made these utterances, and these utterances are still giving every single thing its animation. And if he were to, God forbid, retract one of those utterances, that thing would no longer exist. So those things are constantly being willed into existence through one of the 10 utterances. But you should ask a question. But let's go on just a little bit more first. The same thought was expressed by the Holy Ari of blessed memory. The Holy Ari was a 16th century Kabbalist who lived in the city of Tzfat. Most of the Kabbalah that is learned these days comes from him, because he was the only one who was really able to explain it well. See, when Shimon Bar Yochai, the Sefer of the Zohar, came out, people really could not understand most of it. It was unbelievably convoluted. But then the Arizal was able to just understand it and explain it out just like an open book. And most all of the commentaries the understanding comes through him. Interestingly enough, the Ari, most rabbis had always somebody who was opposing them. Everybody. Most of them. Even Moshe had somebody who was an anti-Moshe. He had Korah. Right? The Baal Shem Tov, the Bavitcher Rebbe, they all had those other rabbis who were against him. The Ari had nobody against him. Nobody could say, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay? Nobody. He was also able to look at the face. That's why they call him the Ari, The Ari means lion. People would run from him from the lion because he was able to look at the forehead and he would know exactly. There was a great story about a guy in Tzfat who heard about him. I heard he could look at the forehead and detect a person's sins, and I don't think I needed to. In case I need a tikkun, let me go to him. In case I need some kind of rectification of my soul, let him go. So he went, the Ari's he's a humble guy. He's just he's a regular person. He says, why do you come to me? I heard you have unbelievable, fantastic wisdom, and you could read the forehead, and you could say if a person did any sins or not, and I would like you to read my forehead. What, are you sure? What, are you crazy? What? Yes, please. I heard you do this, and I would like you to do that with me, please. Okay? So would you please read my forehead? If you insist. Okay, fine. So he looks at his forehead, and he says, eggs for breakfast. He looked at his forehead, and he said, doubtful stealing, borderline theft. He wrote on his forehead. The guy went, what could it possibly be? He goes home and he's freaked out. Where could I possibly have any borderline theft in my life? Where could I be looking? He's searching. And he owns a business and he has workers, people working for him. And he fasts and he afflicts himself because he needs to find out what that sin is and where it is. And finally, he gathers his entire staff, and he lays money on the table. And he says, if any of you think that I have wronged you in any of your salaries or what we have ever agreed upon, ever, please step forward now and take what you feel has been wrong to you. Any of you. And he said, you got 20, 30 people there, right? Anybody. Please, come here now. And if you felt that I've not paid you correctly, come here now and take it. And you have to do it, right? Finally, one little lady steps out from the crowd. She comes in and she picks out this. She goes in, he disappears in the crowd. And then he realized, actually, he went back to the Ari, and he says, this is what I did, and this is what this, and this lady came, and the Ari says, you know why? That lady was sewing for you, and she has a very special skill of sewing. And you were paying her like a standard seamstress, but she was a much more skilled seamstress, and she felt that she should get more, paid more, because of her skill. And so you done right and took care of yourself, Billy Bob. Okay? So anyways, and then it was gone from his forehead and he was okay. Okay? That's the RE. Okay? We don't have people like that anymore.
You just answered my question.
What?
Who's that in this generation?
Well, you might have people, but they're one of the 36 hidden righteous in
Right.
every single generation, and I don't think they'd tell you if you find them.
Right.
Because if you think you found one of them, he'll make sure that he'll get rid of that thought right away. He'll act crazy, do something crazy, and he'll say, "I thought he might have been one of them, but nah, he said some pretty silly stuff there, and I can't." So they're really good at hiding themselves. Okay. So in any case, so the Holy Ari, the same thought was expressed by the Ari of blessed memory when he said that even in completely inanimate matter, such as stones or earth or water, there is a soul and spiritual life force that is enclothing of the letters of speech, of the 10 utterances, which give life and existence to inanimate matter, that it might arise out of the naught and nothingness which preceded the 6 days of creation. Okay? So the idea really is, yes, in inanimate matter, there is those letters, is the life force giving it that animation in it. Okay? The great sages, even the Lubavitcher Rabbi, I heard before he passed away, he was lying on his deathbed, and he wanted to tell his Talmudim that I see right now the beam here. I don't see a beam. I see the letters Kuf, Vav, Resh, He. And they say that also was told to me in Israel. The big masters can go and they see the inner force of every single thing in creation. They don't see a table. They see the Hebrew letters Shin, Lamed, Het, Nun. Chair, Chaf, Samech, He. They see those because those are the real spiritual roots of all of those things in existence, constantly giving it its animation. Okay? Now comes the question which he asks now. Now, although the name Evan, which is stone, Aleph, Fet, Nun, is not mentioned in the 10 utterances, that's the basic problem. Rabbi, I can go ahead and list every single one of these 10 statements of creation, and not one of them is the word, let there be stone, in there. There's no stone. Okay? I want rocks. I want lots of rocks. Okay? There's no such statement, and there's no such word of stone anywhere in the 10 utterances of creation. So how, Rabbi, are stones being imbued with an animation from the 10 statements of creation where we don't see it? Right? We don't see it in the 10 statements. We see a rock. But how does this get to that? Okay? So although the name Evan, stone, is not mentioned in the 10 utterances recorded in the Torah, nevertheless, life force flows to the stone through combinations and substitutions of the letters, which are transposed in the 231 gates, either in direct or reverse order, as explained in the Sefer Yetzirah, until the combination of the name Evan, stone, descends from the 10, turn the page, from the 10 utterances, and is derived from them, and this is the life force of the stone. Okay, so now we got to give you something, a little bit of background, okay? I have here some handouts for you. First, let's do this one, okay? There you go. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
If you count bait separate, then you get 11.
If you count what?
Bait, with if you include it with God said, then you get 11. You make
If
it
you count, you mean you're talking about the statements in Genesis?
the God said, because now those are
God
10.
said should be 10.
Okay, and then you add the bait.
No. If you count the statements in Genesis chapter 1, and God said, you'll only find 9. And God said, and God said, and God said, and God said. You'll only find 9. Okay? There might be one in chapter 2. Okay? God said in chapter 2, at the beginning of there. So, but in the first chapter, you'll only find 9 the 10th one is Bereshit, the first word of Genesis. Okay?
Thanks.
Okay. So, what I handed out to you, it might be a little hard if you're not familiar with Hebrew. But if I have here on the far left-hand column here, is the Aleph Beit. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, all in order. Okay? Now, there we have handed down to us, we know, we don't have, first of all, you don't have any numbers. We don't have the Roman numerals in Hebrew, right? We have the letters. We use the letters for the Roman numerals, okay? In other words, an Aleph is a 1, the Beit is a 2, Gimel is a 3, okay? That's how we work with numbers, always, okay? And we also have another way. We also have different ways. That's called gematria, okay, numerical value. But there's also different ciphers. There's different ways where we can go ahead and delve into a word and get another word from it, okay? There's many different. Here is just a few examples. In other words, we have handed down to us that you can switch certain letters, and when you switch certain letters, you'll get another nuance of that word, okay, in the Torah, okay? So one is called the atbash. Atbash is really if I take the letters backwards. In other words, I switch the first letter with the last letter.
So Aleph, Tav.
Aleph goes with Tav. Here you have it here on the next column. The next column there, to the left, right, 1, 2, 3, after right next to the numbers, to the right of the numbers, is Aleph goes with Tav, and the next letter Beit goes with Shin. Gimel goes with Resh. Dalet goes with Kuf, all the way down to where Tav can be interchanged with Aleph. Okay? And there's many more. You see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ciphers. These are different ways that we have handed down in tradition where letters can be interchanged with other letters to come out with different meanings. Okay? That's just what we have called the switch. Okay? There's also a different way that we could derive this from, interestingly enough. Let me see this. You have a pen? Borrow your pen. If I take, just say, let's look at the letter Aleph here. Okay? Aleph. This is the letter Aleph, but the letter Aleph is a name also of it has more letters in it. To pronounce what the letter is a word. Aleph. Okay?
It's not like an A that's just an A.
Right. It has a name. The letter has a name to it.
Except for W.
W I'm pronouncing syllables. So therefore there's more syllables that I'm pronouncing. So therefore there is more letters that I'm pronouncing. It's not a ah sound. Yes, it is how it's pronounced. But if I call the letter by its name, I'm saying more letters.
Yeah.
As I'm saying so each one of these now branches out, stems out, very much like branches of a tree. So this is, if I would spell now and go on to the letter Aleph, just this is Aleph. This is Lamed, Lamed, Mem, Dalet spells the letter Aleph, Lamed. This has more, so you see more letters are branched out. Pei is Pei, Hey, could be. So if I go for just this, okay, or let's say I'll take the word Lamed, right? And this last letter is spelled Dalet. And I can go ahead and Dalet, another Lamed, and each one of these will branch out, usually within every single letter. Eventually, as it unfolds, you keep spelling it out like this, you'll hit every single letter. Okay?
Wow, that's awesome.
And except for Mem. Mem is just Mem, and it doesn't go anywhere. Mem is the middle letter, actually. Okay? That's not going to go anywhere. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So it's almost in infinity.
Yes, it is. Yes. So the idea really here is that just like branches on a tree, each letter can branch out. So our question was this. Wait a minute. The word stone isn't in the 10 statements of creation. It is, but it comes out in different form. In other words, either one of these ciphers, you can use a numerical, atbash, right? Ayak, bakar, any one of these. It'll take a long time to go into any one of these permutations, but they could be transposed and switched, or like this branched out. So you can get, so eventually the word stone comes out from different permutations originating from those 10 statements of
You
creation.
know what it's like to me from my world that I live in is network numbering, because if it's 6-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, of course this is all numbers, but it's all ones and zeros. And look at the endless combinations. So although I don't understand this, I think I have a sense of it that I didn't have before at all, because my brain went, because your brain has to associate. That's the only way you really, us mere humans, can know something is the association. That's what popped into my mind, is the network numbering.
Okay.
Because it goes on as long as you have a processor that can process it, which now I don't know where they're at on processing power as far as the numbering goes, but to me, I just became enlightened a tiny bit, which is a lot for me since I had no enlightenment on this, is how endless it can be using the letters, and then where the letter is a letter and a number at the same time.
Right.
Okay. Mem is 13, but what's interesting
Mem is 13. What do you mean?
but then it 14 is the same as mem, where the last and first letter.
I'm trying to understand
Okay,
where you are,
none.
because where's 13?
13 letter mem is number 13.
No, it's 40. Mem is the numerical value of mem is 40.
Oh, I thought in the alphabet.
No,
but then
no,
I
no.
was like, that's interesting, because then the next letter it ends just like it starts. Nun and mem, they're kind of
the same? Well, they're next to each other in the olive base, but
Yeah.
they're different numerical value. Okay, so now I have to enlighten you to what we call the 231 gates. This is kind of a rush. I hate to scare you here. But, it is also basic Hebrew.
You're giving me homework.
Yeah. There you go.
I love this stuff.
So if I take one, usually in modern Hebrew, all Hebrew words have a root. And usually it's a 3-letter root. However, there are 2-letter roots. And really, if you go back into the ancient Hebrew, according to the way that Sefer Yetzirah is going, it's a 2-letter. There's always going to be a 2-letter primary root of every single thing in existence. Okay? So if I take 22 letters of the alphabet, let's say, and I do like what I do here in this second diagram, and you put it on points around a circle, okay? So you have Aleph, Beit, Gimel going all the way around. So you have 22 points, 22 letters, okay? Now I'm going to do the famous string art here, and you're going to attach an Aleph to a Beit, and then an Aleph to a Gimel, an Aleph to a Dalet, and each letter goes ahead and hooks up with the other letter. Each letter hooks up with the other letter, okay? So then what I have is really 22 times 21, 22 letters, and it's going to hook up with each one of the other letters other than itself. I ended up with 22 letters times 21. Anybody got a calculator?
22
Come on.
times 21?
Yeah. Are you a great math?
461 or
You're
60,
close.
or something like that.
462.
My brain's foggy. I didn't eat much
462.
Not too
If you take 462 and you divide that by 2, you end up with 231. Why is it divided by 2? Is because it doesn't go both ways. We're just going to do simple, one way, one letter hooked up with one. Okay? So in other words, really, if you have the combinations of just doing a one letter hookup with another letter, you'll have 231 possible combinations. That's called the 231 gates. Because what? Each one of these are the opening to every single thing in existence. Don't forget, 2-letter roots.
root. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
interesting you used the matrix earlier. But
This is all about the matrix.
Yeah.
I'm
Can't
totally...
go back once you take the pill.
the construct.
No.
The construct of creation.
You're... Except it's just not so easy as taking a pill, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, God is not going to make it like that easy, right? But I mean that's the work here. We are working constantly, and the wisdom of Kabbalah is constantly pushing a person to see past the illusion of existence into what is real, and to connect with really what is real, okay? And it's meant to be. It's a challenge, okay? It's a challenge, but yeah, and it's constant, okay? But the idea here is if you don't start understanding that everything is, in its basic foundation, is made up of letters, Hebrew letters, and the combinations of different Hebrew letters, right? So then you'll never be able to at least start to see it, okay? One of the big meditative techniques of the Baal Shem Tov actually is that he gets it from the Parsha of Noah and the Ark. That Noah got the directive to build the Ark. I'm really past the time here, I'm so sorry. Noah got the directive to build the Ark. And among the Ark, he had to make what's called a window for the Ark. Or actually some people say bring a stone in, a luminous stone. And the language there in the verse says, Tzohar ta'aseh l'teva, which means make a shining for the ark. But the word teva in Hebrew has two different meanings. Teva means ark, but teva also means word. So a shining for the word. The technique, the meditative technique of the Baal Shem Tov, that's in every single one of your prayers, and every single time you're learning in the Hebrew, you have to make the words to shine. That means the Beit of Baruch, you have to envision it shining as if it's like a keyhole that has an infinite light behind that keyhole. So that is each one of the letters and each one of the words has to shine like that. Okay? It's an unbelievable technique. Okay?
I can only imagine the name on the crown, or not the crown, the forehead of the high priest as he goes in. I can only imagine.
So in any case, the idea really is of this technique when you're saying a prayer is, and it goes really, really, really deep. It's I don't want to go too deep, but in any case, the idea really is to connect to the letters in a much deeper way. Okay, at least your idea of Hebrew language has got to be a little bit, changed after today. Okay, so let's go on here a little bit more. And so it is with all created things in the world. Their names in the holy tongue, mind you, are the very letters of speech which descend degree by degree from the 10 utterances recorded in the Torah by means of what we call substitutions and transpositions of letters through the 231 gates until they reach and become invested in that particular created thing to give it life. Okay? Now we're going to get into the idea. I'm going to answer that. Why do you need this? Why do you need this? Why do you need it to go through all of these different transpositions and switching and this? It's a diffusion, actually. Okay? He calls it a descent, and he says the descent is necessary. Because why? Individual creatures are not capable of receiving their life force directly from the 10 utterances of the Torah. Because in other words, those 10 utterances in their root form are too bright. We need to get it diffused. You can't, right? If you stare at the sun, you go blind. It'll burn something in your eye. You won't see anymore. The light is too bright. The same thing by here, the utterances of God, infinity, issuing 10 statements of creation is very, very bright. And so we, in order to enjoy our existence, we need all of those letters diffused, okay, and hidden in a certain way, okay? So the individual creatures are not capable of receiving their life force directly from the 10 utterances of the Torah. For life force issuing directly from them is far greater than the capacity of the individual creatures. They can receive the life force only when it descends and is progressively diminished, degree by degree, by means of substitutions and transpositions of the letters, and by gematria, which is the numerical values, until the life force can be condensed and enclosed, and there can be brought forth from it a particular creature. And the name by which it is called in the Holy Tongue is a vessel of the life force condensed into the letters of that name, which has descended from the 10 utterances in the Torah, that have power and vitality to create it, what we call ex nihilo, something from nothing, and give it life forever. For the Torah and the Holy One, blessed be He, are one. So the screen, the projection is still going, and not only that, and we'll get to different parts of it, every single thing is being imbued with these original letters, but of course they're diffused in a way so we don't get blown away by the intense light that is in those letters, okay? Otherwise we'd probably go insane, okay? Because the idea here really is in that very life force, it's too great a force for us to go ahead and grasp, okay? We'll end now and finish chapter 1. Good?
Yeah.
Any questions?
One question.
Yeah.
So when Adam was naming the animals, he was seeing the makeup of what they were and calling it by that?
Yes. He was seeing the essence. When he called the animals their names, that was their essence. Your name, the name is the essence of a person. Baal Shem Tov says if you want to wake someone up who's in a real deep sleep, you whisper their name in their ear. Okay, with their Hebrew name, except for my teenage son who doesn't. But most of the time, if you whisper their name, because that is the clothing, their essence of their soul is clothed in those letters that are giving it its life force. So that's the idea of the essence of it. Kelev is the most dynamic one. It's the Hebrew word for dog. Have you heard this one before? Mm-mm. It's really 2 letters together. Kol. Kelev is 3 letters, right? A chaf, lamed, and a beit, right? So if I go like this, right? Kol. Right? If you go look at a kol kelev, it's really 2 words. If I bunch this word, these 2 letters, means the word all, and if I put these 2 letters together, it means heart. All heart.
For dog?
Yeah. Okay? So the letters are the essence of everything, every single thing. When he named the animals, he named their exact essence, exactly what they are, what they represent. The Hebrew name, okay? I haven't figured out what a cat is yet, so, okay? But like the elephant he called a peel.
They love you.
And a peel is like a wonder,
They still love you.
because it's a huge, wondrous beast.
Except Adam couldn't have named a dog because they came after